Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Tonight on Our News, new revelations about parks and beaches pre-elections contract. Why you want to think twice about holiday travel. And could the Christmas carnival have approval by tomorrow? Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, more details emerging about the awarding of contracts by the Public Parks and Public Beaches Authority in the run-up to the general election. Chairman Mikhail Bonnaby tells parliamentarians financial obligations more than doubled this fiscal year, and contractors were awarded contracts for the same work. Jasmine Brown reports.
Once again, beaches and parks was a hot topic here in Parliament as new details were revealed about those pre-election contracts.
Our obligations, Deputy Speaker, now far exceed the authority's approved budget. While $15.2 million was approved for 2021-2022, the authority's obligation is now approximately $37 million.
Bonnaby says the ballooned budget has placed the authority in a bad financial position, and that's not all.
The authority has exceeded the annual approved budget by $22 million. To put this into context, that is larger than the budget for the Straw Market Authority, the Development Bank, and BAIC combined. Our obligations far exceed the approved funding allocated by Parliament. Our monthly obligation went from approximately $1.2 million to now nearly $3 million on a monthly basis.
Bonnaby also gave a timeline.
The 1st of July, the monthly projected obligation was $1.3 million. During the same month of July of this year, the authority took on an additional approximately $10.6 million in new obligations. When I say new obligations, I am referring to contracts. Sometime between August and September, the authority became aware of an additional $11 million in new contracts.
In Parliament on Wednesday night, former Executive Chairman Shannon Don Cartwright said he never acted recklessly during his tenure. He insisted many Bahamians benefited greatly, adding the authority never operated in a silo. However, Bonnaby says some contractors were being paid to do the same work. He also revealed some contractors had been doing work for the authority, only to find out that no contract existed.
Contractors are calling the authority every day looking for payments. We have different categories of contractors. Contractors that cannot produce contracts at all, looking to be paid. In this category, contractors state that they have signed the contracts, but they were told to come back to receive their copy, only to be told that there is no contract. Mind you, Madam Speaker, some of these contracts purportedly started working without a contract in hand. They allege that they were told to start working and that they will be paid later. There are contracts that exist that does not have the chairman's signature on it or the board secretary's signature on it, but these persons have been carrying out work on behalf of the authority.
Bonnaby says due to the post-election discoveries, the authority now has the difficult task of trying to right-size operations amid a shortfall in finances. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
As the United States confirmed its second case of the Omicron variant, health officials are considering changes to travel protocols. Dr. Nakia Forbes says PCR testing for everyone may be one recommendation. Kyle Joaquin has more.
With the spread of the Omicron variant worldwide, could we see changes to the travel protocol? Well, according to infectious diseases expert Dr. Nakia Forbes, health officials are taking a look.
Testing does provide you an opportunity to screen and try and reduce travel-related cases. In view of Omicron, it is a good idea to introduce PCR testing in the meantime.
Forbes said reducing the test time closer to the date of travel is also a good idea. It's a similar position being taken by the United States, with media outlets reporting U.S. President Joe Biden's plan to tighten rules, making it mandatory for all inbound international passengers to test for COVID 24 hours prior to their flight. Former Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands had recommended that health officials do away with the discrimination between vaccinated and unvaccinated individuals and make PCR testing the standard across the board for entry into the country.
It is time now, perhaps, that we move to PCR testing for everyone. And the discrimination against persons that are unvaccinated, it's time to roll that away.
But Forbes says when it comes to using antigen tests, there are pros and cons, with the pros being things like cost effectiveness and not requiring lab expertise.
It is not the best test for travel, but it is a balancing act. It is cost effective. It is fast. It doesn't require lab expertise. And again, none of these testing strategies are 100%. They will still miss some cases, and so you do have to use travel, some other guidelines.
To enter the Bahamas, fully vaccinated individuals currently need a negative rapid antigen test no older than 5 days. Unvaccinated individuals must have a PCR test. As the Omicron COVID-19 variant pops up in more countries, health experts are keeping a close eye on it. And with the holidays now upon us, Forbes says health experts are discouraging travel unless necessary.
Now that we know about this new strain, and it appears to be very infectious, or at least based upon what we know anecdotally so far, it can cause a surge. It's causing a surge in South Africa. I do think that it would be prudent to use caution. If you are immunocompromised, older, if you have health risks, I would really say to you, really weigh your need to travel at this time.
For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Former Minister of State for Grand Bahama, Kwesi Thompson, accusing the Davis administration of failing to prioritize enhanced hospital facilities on the island. He says the Minister administration had millions of dollars in place for the work, but the supplementary budget shows the new government has cut that funding.
You have taken away $19 million for the Rand Hospital. I recall prior to election, members of the Progressive Liberal Party in the front of the Rand Memorial Hospital raising concerns about the hospital. This was after the hospital was recommissioned by the FNM. And we shared some of their concerns. We shared some of your concerns.
Health Minister Dr. Michael Darville insists the plans were not in place, adding there are minimal architectural drawings, no documented engineering studies, and technical assessments are still being worked on. Former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis asserted that Darville should have built the Grand Bahama Hospital he promised when he was a minister under the Christie administration.
If the member had committed and come through with what he had promised when he spoke in 2014, Thursday, at the STEM Cell conference in Grand Bahama at Lucayan Hotel. Remember, I stated that a new hospital would be completed, the Rand Memorial Hospital, by early 2017.
His comments prompted this response from Dr. Darville.
We were sprinting towards the construction of a hospital, and I'm a man, and I can live up to what went wrong. We fell in the ditch as a result. No, let me finish. Let me finish, because you did utter the statements as well that you're going to build it, and I will come back to say when you said it, and you didn't deliver. So the reality is, I am telling the Bahamian people what we intend to do as a government, and the Bahamian people will hold us to our word, like how they did with you. Yes. And at the end of the day, they made a judgment, and that's why you over there and we over here.
Well, only a small fraction of a $35 million Inter-American Development Bank loan that was granted nearly 5 years ago has been utilized, according to Public Works and Utilities Minister Alfred Sears, who says an IDB official says it's the lowest performing loan in the region.
We have to do some things differently. This loan for the airport, $35 million approved in 2017. And this 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21. And of this $35 million, Madam Speaker, only 3% of it has been disbursed. 3%. That's this. 3% have been disbursed to date.
Sears was referring to the January 2017 IDB loan for the improvement of 4 airports on Exuma, North Eleuthera, Marsh Harbor, and Treasure Key. The IDB loan life is over 25 years with a 5.5-year grace period and a LIBOR-based interest rate.
The expiration is about a year and a half out. So clearly, we can't be doing the same thing. We have to begin to do some things differently.
In other news, the Christmas Carnival may be making a comeback this year, as the health minister says he expects approval to be granted by tomorrow. However, he stresses there are a few more requirements organizers have to meet before being allowed to operate. Bethany McDermott reports.
Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Darville says the ministry could approve the permit for the Christmas Carnival as early as today, once they meet the necessary requirements. However, he stressed the holiday attraction has yet to receive full approval.
There's no full green light. There has been some tentative okays because the steps have been taken, but there's still a few outstanding things that we're expecting before they get final approval.
So once those steps are met, they will be approved, because like I said, they're setting up already.
Yes, once those final things are brought to the ministry, I believe they should be sorted out sometime today or early tomorrow.
On Tuesday, trailers were seen at Fort Charlotte, but Darville told reporters that no decision had been made. Today, he said some requirements have been met.
Yesterday, a meeting was done, and there's still some outstanding stuff that we're waiting on. They have been informed, and it's up for them now to bring that outstanding information so that we can ensure that if we issue the permit to go ahead from our department, it can be done safely, and Bahamians and people who go to the event will not be subjected to the possibility of a breakthrough of our protocols.
Now, while the health minister is adamant that the green light hasn't been given for the carnival to operate, they're already unpacking and preparing to open. This is former health minister Dr. Dwayne Sand says he believes the approval was given long before now. It's a claim Dr. Darville denies.
It appears as if this is a fait accompli, that they've already decided that the carnival will be allowed to function, and that all this discussion about, oh, we're going to review the data, etc., is paying lip service.
That is not true, because if you were to check the public record, I made it very clear that they made an application for the event, and every single person who have an event that revolves around public gatherings in that proportion have to go through the microscope at the Ministry of Health. That is being done as we speak. And so if they went ahead on their own initiative and not on approval from the Ministry of Health.
When weighing the pros and cons of having the Christmas Carnival at a time when the world is on edge over the Omicron variant, the two physicians stressed the need for Bahamians to follow safety protocol.
It's an outdoor activity, and provided that people wash their hands and wear their masks and so on and so forth, the danger is probably dramatically less than indoor activities.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Thanks, Bethany. Well, another clear night as temperatures dip. Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center.
Thanks, Christina. Welcome, everybody, for your first look at weather. Brought to you tonight by Ports International, trusted medical supplies for a better quality of life. Pleasant evening, and a little bit on the warm side outside our studios right now. Temperatures in the mid-70s, 75 degrees with some intermittent clouds. Your winds out of the north at 9 miles per hour, and your field-like temperature 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Satellite view, quiet weather across the area. That ridge of high pressure remains entrenched, generating some very nice conditions. We did get into the low 80s earlier today, but we do have some high-level clouds moving across. That's going to filter in some sunshine through tomorrow, but things will remain quiet for the rest of the evening. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still ahead, should you get a J&J booster after 2 months? And why the central bank unions are threatening legal action. Stay tuned.
Welcome to our news, and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Health officials are reviewing recommendations for individuals who received the single-dose Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine to get a booster just 2 months later, according to infectious diseases expert Dr. Nakia Forbes. This comes as more than 20,000 doses of the vaccine are set to expire at the end of the month.
And actually, there's already a Food and Drug Administration in the United States recommendation that if you had Johnson & Johnson as the first dose, that you would benefit from getting a second dose within 2 months. And that is something that we can also look at. We are trying to put the platforms in place for support of additional doses now.
As for individuals who received the AstraZeneca or Pfizer vaccines, Forbes says a booster shot of another brand would still be a good idea.
AstraZeneca also needs to be boosted, and it is okay to mix them and give the Pfizer, for example. And there is even some scientific information that suggests that if you mix them, that you would have a more robust antibody response.
Meanwhile, the line staff and managerial unions at the Central Bank of the Bahamas have filed trade disputes after union leaders say negotiations for a new industrial agreement have stalled. The unions are concerned about the financial components of the agreement.
It's the wellness bonus, and most of it is compensation matters that we are now working on. Everything else is basically, I want to be choose by words here, because when you say negotiation, the only thing we got for a whole year was uniforms.
We have went to several meetings and, like I said, made changes, but their proposal, their offer that's on the table, has been repeatedly put back on the table.
The industrial agreement expired in January. Union leaders have asked Labor Minister Keith Bell to intervene. However, they threatened to take legal action if the matter isn't resolved.
I must say, without fear of contradiction, we're not afraid of a good fight. Like I said, it will be all legal, but we're not afraid of a good fight. And we know it will not have to come to that, because we're dealing with persons like Governor John Roll who will call us to the table and we'll move this thing forward. So we know it wouldn't go that way.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
Up next, Family Guardian helps to feed families in need, and the sports minister spends time in the second city. The details when our news returns.
Welcome to our news, and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
This is our news. Welcome back. Family Guardian starting off the holiday season by sprinkling some joy at the All Saints Camp. The insurance group presented cases of groceries to residents of the small community.
Family Guardian would like to donate cases of grocery items to the All Saints Camp kitchen to help with the challenges of feeding the residents, and also 10 individual family meal bags for the families at the resident at this camp.
Assistant Administrator Kashala Forbes says financially things have been rough at the camp since the start of the pandemic, as donations decreased drastically.
I can't say how much we appreciate this. So on behalf of myself, Ms. Forbes, and Ms. Ingram, the administrator of the All Saints Camp, we just want to say thank you once again.
I am so grateful for whatever you all doing and anybody else doing. I'm very grateful. I also thank you for your appreciation. I'm very much pleased with that.
Sports Minister Mario Boleg paying a visit to Grand Bahama to support high school basketball. Marcellus Hall has that tonight in sports.
Thanks and welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. See that guy behind me, Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, Honorable Mario Boleg. He's been busy lately. In fact, on the road this week, checking out some tournaments down in Grand Bahama. Let's find out more. The Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, the Honorable Mario Boleg, in Grand Bahama yesterday, attending the Grand Bahama Junior and Senior High School basketball tournaments down there, being held at the St. George's Gym. Now, while there, Minister Boleg talked about the return of high school sporting events on the island.
The pandemic has really put a damper on sports in the country. And the mere fact that the athletes here in Grand Bahama in the sport of basketball is about 70% of the schools participating, 70% of the athletes participating in the various schools are fully vaccinated. They would have met the qualifying and marked as it relates to Ministry of Health protocols. And so as the Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, we support this. But yet again, sports is back on the move, and I'm proud to know that in the North, we started here in Grand Bahama to get contact sports back moving.
Tournament organizer Norris Bain saying full measures being taken to keep athletes safe.
We got it started last night, and we are certainly operating this event in the safest possible manner. Everybody that enters this gymnasium is their temperature is taken, and we also ensure that they're sanitized. They're sanitizing stations that are erected around the gymnasium as before the tip-off of any games, and ensure that the young people are safe. This year's tournament, unfortunately, we aren't allowing any fans into the gymnasium just because of the size of the gymnasium. We're keeping it just out to the players, but parents, guardians can certainly go online. All of the schools are in possession of the link.
And speaking of Grand Bahama, Buddy Hield and the Sacramento Kings playing on back-to-back nights. Last night, facing off against the LA Clippers. Hield, bit of a slow night offensively. He finished with just 4 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists in 21 minutes played. Kings, though, do get the win, 124-115. They play the Clippers again on Saturday, this time in Sacramento. And week 13 of the NFL season getting started this evening with a Thursday night matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and New Orleans Saints. Both teams coming off Thanksgiving Day losses and looking to bounce back. And that's your look at sports for you here on this Thursday. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you.
Thanks, Marcellus. Still ahead, Christmas comes early for Elizabeth residents. Find out more after this.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Welcome back to our news. Partly cloudy conditions heading into the weekend. Greg is back in the Weather Center.
Thanks again, Christina. Welcome back, everybody, and a happy Thursday evening. Very nice conditions across the areas. That ridge of high pressure stays in charge. It's going to continue to generate some very pleasant conditions over the next couple of days. We have a little bit of a disturbance to the north. That's going to move out towards the east and away from us. And then a ridge of high pressure in the Gulf of Mexico will move across, migrate across the Bahamas over the next couple of days. So we're looking at a string of nice days and very comfortable temperatures through the weekend and into early next week. If you're doing any boating and beaching, northeast to east winds can be at 10 to 15 knots, falling light and variable at times. Seas will be running 2 to 4 feet. Tide is presently high, will be low at 11:59 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Thursday. Very lovely conditions expected for the next couple of days. Make sure you enjoy it. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Greg. Well, Santa set up his workshop in Elizabeth Estates on Saturday during Rev's Real Magic More Christmas initiative. It was a night under the stars featuring a dancing Grinch, goodie bags, roasted marshmallows, and a magical movie night. Elizabeth MP Jo Beth Colby Davis thanked Rev for doing its part to spread the joy of Christmas.
It's really good to have partners like corporate partners like Rev that does these sort of events that brings that community type of feeling back into Elizabeth. So I'm grateful.
Well, thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Stay tuned for a new episode of On the Record with Jerome Sawyer, which starts right now.